Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Becoming a Kaleidoscope Play and Learn Affiliate through Best Starts for Kids. We're going to wait just a moment because we have a few other people that are registered and are just now logging on. So please be patient, bear with us, and we will get right back with you. Thank you.
No, they're laughing. No, they're talking.
Hi there. Welcome again to the Becoming a Kaleidoscope Affiliate through Best Starts for Kids. My name is Jennifer Duval.
And I'm Kim.
And we are the Child Care Resources staff that will be working with all of you as affiliates. So thank you so much for taking the time out to participate in this webinar today. I really want to make sure that we get some of your questions answered and give you a little bit more information about the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn program in general, and then also some details on what it means to become an affiliate, what your responsibilities are as an affiliate, and then also the supports that we can provide to all of our affiliates. So we are going to go ahead and get started with just a basic overview of Kaleidoscope Play and Learn. And so let's see. We will have a chance to ask questions, and if you would not mind muting yourselves, and then if you have a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and if you'd prefer, you can also type a question in through the chat box or questions, and we'll try to keep an eye on those and answer any questions as they come up. But we really do want this to be a chance for you to get any of your questions answered, and so please do feel free to let us know if something doesn't make sense as we're going through. So just to get started, I wanted to share a picture of one of our first ever Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups. This group was offered through Chinese Information and Service Center. They are current affiliates, and they actually also received funding through Best Starts for Kids to continue to offer groups and add more groups. So the basic definition of a Kaleidoscope Play and Learn group is that it's a facilitated play group for young children and their parents and or family, friend, and neighbor caregivers. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as far as how Kaleidoscope came into being and what it is today. So all of you know a little bit about Kaleidoscope, enough that it prompted you to go ahead and apply for the Best Starts funding and agree to become affiliates. And we would love to hear some of the reasons that you chose to move forward with this project, what inspired you to apply for this funding, and how it might fit in with your current programming. So would anyone like to go ahead and share with us what inspired you to become an affiliate? And we can get started with the conversation. Any brave souls who would like to unmute themselves and share? And if you're not able to, please go ahead and type something in the question box so that we can figure out if it's an issue on our end. Okay, not hearing back from anyone. If you do have anything you wanted to share about why you chose to be an affiliate, please do go ahead and type it in or let us know. And if you, again, wouldn't mind muting yourselves on your end, that would be great. We've unmuted everyone on our end so that if you do want to have something you want to share, you're able to go ahead and unmute yourself. And then just as a reminder, we will actually be recording this webinar so that you will be, if you have other staff members or if you're not able to participate in the full one, this will be available on our Kaleidoscope Play and Learn YouTube channel. And so folks will be able to go ahead and use that and go ahead and watch that at another time. And it looks like we do have a couple of people who typed in. Do you know how we can? So thank you, Kristen, for sharing that there's a need in your community for something like this and that you wanted to spread the word on play, which is fantastic. That's why a lot of folks get started. And Kristen's from Tukwila. And so I know we were able to have one of your facilitators, Nicole, at our last training. So she seemed like she was already doing a lot of this great work. And it's exciting that she'll be able to really incorporate some of the Kaleidoscope methods in the play groups that you had, that you'll have in the future. And great, welcome Nicole and Kristen. So again, if anybody else wants to share, we'll have a chance to do more conversation back and forth about individual affiliates and how this might fit into your other program towards the end of the webinar. But we really wanted to open it up to all of you. As you know, you put in all of the work as far as getting the application and getting this Best Starts for Kids funding. And so we congratulate you again, and we're excited to delve deeper into what that means. So we wanted to give you a brief history of how Kaleidoscope came into being. And it was originally developed as an opportunity to support family, friend, and neighbor caregivers. So this was around 2000 that some work was being done, and Child Care Resources partnered with lots of different community organizations within King County to see what the need might be in these different communities and what programs were out there to support FFN caregivers in particular. And what they found was that there was a real lack of programming that welcomed extended family members and other caregivers. So Kaleidoscope Play and Learn was developed as an opportunity for these caregivers to come together to get resources, to get support from each other, to get some training and information from facilitators, and really to develop networks of caregivers amongst themselves. And it still serves that purpose, but today it also welcomes lots and lots of parents. So we find typically in Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups these days that it's about 75% parents participating and then about 25% family, friend, and neighbor caregivers. And that pretty much mirrors the demographics across the country of who's taking care of young children birth to 5. So Kaleidoscope Play and Learn had a formal launch in 2006 and then went through a lengthy research and development phase where an evaluation was conducted, and then a formalized structure was put into place in 2011, still just within King County. And then after working on that for a couple of years, it was designated as a promising practice by the University of Washington. And we still maintain that promising practice designation. And we do that partly through our annual evaluations to make sure that all of our affiliates are maintaining fidelity to the model. So we'll get to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. Kaleidoscope Play and Learn was grounded in research and in practice. So as I mentioned, a lot of this started in King County and working very, very closely with community partners to see what would work best for the families that we were supporting and the community agencies that we were partnering with. So the program itself has a set of guidelines, and then it does have some quality assurance practices and fidelity measures just to make sure that that folks who are participating in it really understand the theory behind Kaleidoscope Play and Learn, and their facilitators are using the practices that are put into place through the guidelines in their weekly groups. So we will talk more about the guidelines and some of these practices as we go, and you all, of course, will get all of the materials to support this as you're becoming affiliates. And then there's also the piece on frequent and regular outcomes evaluation, process evaluation, and a pilot study. So that was all done in those early 2000s. And then we continue to do annual outcome evaluations. And you all will have an opportunity to participate in that next year as well. And Kaleidoscope is a widely recognized existing research, or uses widely recognized existing research in child development, family and community engagement, family support, group therapy, adult learning, and strengths-based approaches. So this is probably all information that's quite familiar to you all, but just as a reminder that this really is a highly developed program that we are really proud of and that we are excited to support expanding within King County and actually across Washington State. And then this is our theory of change, which gives a little bit more background on Kaleidoscope, that KPNL provides family, friend, and neighbor caregivers and parents with information, resources, support, and connections so that caregivers can provide high-quality childcare and development opportunities so that all children are in safe, nurturing environments, receiving high-quality care, and are prepared to succeed in school and life. So this bottom statement is really the overarching goal that we are striving towards. And the way that we do that is by supporting the caregivers of these young children. So we like to show this pie chart that kind of explains how we came up with this method. And this is a really basic chart of a toddler, say a 2-year-old, looking at a week in the life of this young 2-year-old. So about half of their time is spent asleep. And then about 49% of their time is spent with their parent or a primary caregiver. And then they are just at a Kaleidoscope Play and Learn group about 1% of their time. So groups are 90 minutes to 2 hours every week. And so that is a tiny little sliver of time that facilitators have to really make an impact on the child's development. But if in that little bit of time, the facilitators can really work with the caregivers who are there, the parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and nannies who are there bringing children in their care to the weekly group, then those caregivers have all of this 49% of time to really have an impact on their children's development and really have tools for developing positive and responsive relationships with their young children. So we have a lot of focus on the caregiver learning piece. This is very much a drop-in play group, but never a drop-off play group. It's very much about connecting with the caregivers who are attending and giving them some resources, tools, support, connection, community, so that they feel more successful as caregivers. And then all of the amazing experiences that the children have in the weekly groups are kind of icing on the cake. So we're going to talk a little bit about what a typical group looks like, and Kim will have some details for you. And again, if you do have questions, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself to ask them, or you can go ahead and type them in.
Hi. So really the beauty of Kaleidoscope is that each group is different depending on the facilitator and their participants, but in general, there are some elements that each group does contain. Each group is required to meet for at least 90 minutes. Many groups run for longer than that, like 2 hours or more. But every group does have generally an arrival and greeting time where caregivers walk in with their child, they sign up, and the facilitator greets them. And then at some point during the group, there is child-directed playtime. So that essentially means free playtime where the child can choose the toy activity that they want to engage in, and their caregiver interacts with them during this time as well. Then there is typically cleanup. And then after that, some kind of group activity or a circle time that often entails story time or dancing and singing and so on, and then a goodbye. And it really is up to the facilitator to structure and organize the group in any way that they feel is best for the group and based on the participants and what they like and prefer. But typically these are the common elements of each general structure of the sessions that we see. Next slide. Throughout each Kaleidoscope group as well, there are a few things that does happen, and one of them being that the facilitator delivers intentional caregiver learning. And that means that the facilitator plans and intends to deliver education and information to the caregivers on child development, school readiness, and how children learn through play. And this can be done verbally or through written information. And then they also provide opportunities for the caregivers to learn about one another and to get to know each other. And this allows for them to build a system of support. And last but not least, there are also opportunities that the facilitator provides for caregiver leadership. And that means that caregivers are encouraged and empowered to take on lead roles in the group and to help facilitate the group. Often we see that when these opportunities are provided, a lot of caregivers, they end up being facilitators down the road as well, because they're provided opportunities to take on lead roles. And this kind of growth in the program is definitely something that we are very proud of and encourage as well. There are some key messages that we want caregivers to receive when they do go to a Kaleidoscope Play and Learn group, and the facilitator helps make this happen. One of them being that we want caregivers to know that they play a very large role in their child's development and in their school readiness, and that children learn through play, through relationships and interaction. We also want them to know that they don't need a large, fancy educational degree or a background in early learning to have an impact on their child. They already have what it takes. What KPNL does is that it supports them and enhances this. And then also we want to deliver the message that families don't need expensive equipment or toys to promote development and playtime. There are a lot of things that people have at home for playtime that they can use, such as household items, and that many families and caregivers have what it takes already. Buying more expensive toys and equipment is not necessary. And then also very much of the Kaleidoscope mantra, everyday activities are full of teachable moments at KPNL and outside of KPNL. KPNL groups meet at many different locations, and we can talk more about this later if you have questions, if you're looking for a location for your group. But basically they occur wherever people play, pray, and work. So we have groups in community centers, apartment complexes, shopping malls, libraries, office spaces, and so on. And wherever people can gather and get to by car or public transportation or by foot is where they meet. And then also, Jennifer mentioned this as well, Kaleidoscope is drop in, not drop out. So the caregiver and child do both attend, and they can attend every week, a couple times a month, once a month, whatever it is, completely drop in, and it's also free. So this allows very few limitations for people to attend, and it allows people from all sorts of backgrounds to come as well without any barriers to accessing it.
So we wanted to share just some facts and figures about Kaleidoscope Play and Learn in Washington State now. And all of this information comes from the annual surveys that we do towards the end of the year. So you would get you'll get information about our 2018 facts and figures early in 2019. But right now in Washington State, we have about 30 community organizations. There are over 120 groups happening every week in all different communities across the state. Groups are facilitated currently in 7 different languages, and we're excited to hear about the different languages that your agencies might be looking to start new groups, which is always very exciting. As Kim said, they happen in all different places, so they are in urban, rural, suburban, and ex-urban locations at many different types of buildings. Last year, over 6,500 families attended just in Washington State. And then from demographic information, about half of the people who attended, the caregivers who brought children with them, were considered low income. 63% were self-identified as people of color, and then 51% spoke a language other than English at home. So again, this is information that we get when we do an annual survey. And you all may have other surveys that you use regularly with the families that participate in your current programs. So we can talk more about how we can coordinate those efforts as we talk about some of affiliate agreement stipulations. And then just to put out there as well, this project is very King County focused, but we do also have Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups in other states such as California, Oregon, Iowa, North Carolina, Ohio, and Kentucky at this point. So again, with that caregiver survey, we'd like to share some of the major results that we received last year. So these were based off of changes in caregiver behavior that they self-reported after having participated in a number of Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups. So 81% of participants said that they talked more often with the children in their care about numbers, shapes, and sizes. 83% described things that they do and see with their children more often. 87% gave their children more opportunities to learn and try new things. So these are examples of some of the questions that we do ask on the caregiver survey, and that is just a two-page survey which we have translated into many different languages, but this is a way that we can get at some of the benefits and effects that families are experiencing based on participating in Kaleidoscope groups. And then some of the changes in caregiver social support that we found. 84% participated more in community activities or services to help their children learn and be healthy. And then my favorite data fact to spout about Kaleidoscope that came from our participant surveys last year was that 91% of the caregivers who completed a survey through Kaleidoscope said that they felt more supported as a parent or caregiver in their community having participated in this program. So we really see this as a huge win if families are coming regularly, and the information and the connections that they make and the experiences they have and the different activities that they're able to observe help them to feel more supported as a parent or caregiver. Then we feel like we are doing our job and getting it out there if that many people are feeling that. So we've just put out a lot of information. I wanted to take a minute and see if there are questions about the overall structure of Kaleidoscope and some of the information that we've shared. This would be a great time to ask any of those questions before we go ahead and move on to what it means to be an affiliate. So please feel free to either unmute yourself and ask or go ahead and type in questions. Not getting any questions yet, but we have a minute to go ahead if there's anything else about Kaleidoscope Play and Learn in general that you'd like to know before we move on to affiliate details. Okay, well, if you have any other questions as we go, feel free to go ahead and ask those. And we will get into some of the nuts and bolts of what it means to become an affiliate with Child Care Resources. So I know that many people are still waiting for, I think actually everyone is still waiting for their contracts to be finalized through King County. So I am not able to answer questions at this time about your exact budget with the county or any of the details around the Best Starts for Kids portion. What we'd like to talk about a little bit is the general affiliate information for Child Care Resources. And so this will apply to all of you, but I won't have details as far as budgets and group information from Best Starts for Kids at this point. So the information that we're sharing now is what we share with all of our new affiliates to get started in planning out how you would start your groups. So this is kind of an idea of things to consider as you're creating your budget, and we actually do have templates and spreadsheets to help with some of this with just kind of some suggested amounts. But some of the main things that you will need to consider when you're figuring out the budget for your new groups are, the big one is facilitator pay. So many of you already have staff that you have in mind to be leading these groups. Others maybe are looking to hire new staff to become new facilitators. So those facilitator wages and benefits and any overhead for hiring new staff would be the large chunk of your budget. And then the other is the program coordinator or manager role. So many of you participating in the webinar today are at the coordinator level, and so by building in time for you to support your facilitators will certainly be part of the budget. Some equipment costs, such as toys and play materials. As Kim mentioned, we really do encourage lots of homemade items and finding things, you know, secondhand or donated, things that families can find themselves for either free or at very low cost, can be used in the Play and Learn group. And then just some very basic toys and materials. And we have materials, you know, suggested material lists, and are happy to help with getting folks started with getting their space set up with materials. Activity supplies such as markers, glue, paper, you know, arts activities, that kind of thing, and then cleanup supplies and pens, papers. Some groups do have weekly snacks, so budgeting in for snacks if that's something that your group will do, but it's not necessary. And then space rental, if that's going to be an option. Lots of folks do already have space, or they're able to get free or borrowed space from other community spaces or libraries. But if you do have to pay rent, then that would go into your budget. Mileage for your facilitator getting to and from the group. Miscellaneous costs such as extra facilitator training or copying or office products, that kind of thing. And then the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn affiliate license and materials fees is covered through your Best Arts for Kids grant, so that you don't have to take into account. So this is really the basic budget that we share with folks as far as what it would cost to run a group. And many of you have probably already seen this and used this in developing your grant application. So I want to take a minute because it looks like we have a question from Eric. That are caregivers able ever to drop off their children or send their children with friends or neighbors? So that's a great question. Caregivers are never able to just drop their children off at the group, but if they have a friend or a neighbor who regularly looks after their child, that friend or neighbor could absolutely bring them to the group. That's part of what these groups are for. So certainly that's really welcome. And we also have some groups that have older siblings that are bringing children regularly, and that's absolutely fine too. If there's a teenager that's taking care of a younger child, that they might come to participate in the group. So it's really whoever the caregiver is of that young child, 5 or under. Thank you for the question. If others have questions, please do feel free to go ahead and ask. So as you are budgeting for your facilitator, and as I said, this would be the majority of your budget, it's really important to get an idea of how much time that facilitator is going to need to offer a really quality weekly Play and Learn group. So yes, the groups are about 90 minutes to 2 hours every week, but there is a lot of other time that is involved in putting those groups together. So we like to show this little diagram just to give folks an idea of what all is included. So there's planning time of the facilitator, and that's even before showing up on site. And then there's the setup of the group, there's getting to the group. There's, of course, the 90 minutes to 2 hours when all of the families are there. And then there's typically more time after that for cleanup and then commuting after that. Then we really encourage facilitators to have time to do some follow-up with families, so that if things came up, if they were asked for resources, or if families were asking questions that they didn't have answers to right on the spot, to have time built in to do some follow-up with families, and as well to have time for reflection, so that the facilitator can really have an opportunity to think about what worked well, what didn't, what might they want to try at another group. What did they notice about the families who were coming, that maybe there were people that they could connect? So really to give the facilitator an opportunity to take some time to reflect on the group and follow up. And then in addition to all of that, there are just the regular weekly administrative tasks. There are the quality assurance activities that we request. There's participation in trainings, which we'll talk a bit more about what trainings are available. There may be weekly supervision meetings with their coordinators. There's documentation such as taking attendance and then submitting attendance, doing outreach, which can be a big chunk of time in the beginning as groups are getting started, just getting out in the community and letting families know that this group is happening. There may be fundraising to support additional services to your group if that's necessary, and then all the other tasks that come up for facilitators to manage a really high quality weekly group. So when we look at this and think about, that, as I said, 90 minutes to 2 hours for the weekly group, when we look at all of the other things that are involved, we've really talked with community partners to see, like, how much time does all of this really take? What do you recommend that people plan on so that a facilitator is not feeling too stressed about getting all of this done? And the number that we have pretty much heard consistently is that this is about 6 hours a week to do one weekly group. So as you are thinking about hiring new facilitators and planning out your budget for their salary, we do encourage you to think about all of the other time that facilitator will need to invest in addition to the weekly group time that's on site. So we do recommend about 6 hours of time. So, and it looks like we've got another question. The question is there a cap on how many children one adult can bring? And if one parent is bringing their children as well as their neighbor's children? So really, we do not, at Child Care Resources, we don't put a cap on the numbers that way. It'll absolutely depend on the community organization. So whatever your space capacity is, what the facilitator is able to manage. So really, that is dependent on the affiliates. We are not really set up to have, for instance, like a family child care provider who has multiple children in their care. This wouldn't necessarily be a place for them to bring all of the children in their care. But if there were a parent who also looks after 2 other children in their neighborhood, that's very, very common that they might bring all of the children, so they'd have 3 kids or 4 kids coming with them. And we at Child Care Resources don't have any issue with that, and we don't have to worry about ratios as far as licensing in that capacity because the caregivers are there with the children. But really, it is something that each affiliate would have to make a decision with their own discretion on the numbers and the capacity. So I hope that answers your question, Eric, but please let us know if you have other questions on that. So it's a good time to think about who the people might be that would be leading the weekly groups, so who your facilitators are. And as part of our technical support, Kim will talk a little bit more about how, we are happy to talk more about the hiring of facilitators and how folks have done that in the past. But some ideal facilitator qualities to think about as you're starting to think about who might lead these groups. Some of those qualities are that the facilitator knows the community already, that they share the language and culture of the intended participants, that they create warm, welcoming relationships with people, so both adults and children, and with people from a diversity of backgrounds and experiences, so that it's really a welcoming and inclusive environment that facilitator is creating. That they can work independently, because a lot of times they are just doing this very much on their own with the support of the caregivers that are attending the group, but it really takes a point person making all of this happen and being able to work independently. And then knows their own limits and asks for help. Hopefully they will have coordinators and supervisors who are able to help them if they need additional resources or support, or have somebody to check in with. And then is enthusiastic about the program. So part of our role will be training all of the facilitators and hopefully getting them on board with the amazing benefits of the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn program, so that they are really enthusiastic about sharing this with the families in their community. And bonus qualities are if they have successful experience in any caregiver or parent education and support, in group facilitation, and especially with adults, and in early learning and child development. So, we get a lot of folks who come to the training who have a lot of experience, perhaps in early learning, maybe they were preschool teachers, but this is a really different model in that we're working so closely with the caregivers, and it's really a family support and family engagement program in many ways. But then having information about child development and basic milestones and all of that is very, very useful as well. And of course, folks who are comfortable with group facilitation, that they'll walk into this really easily. But those are all things that we also are supporting and training in when they come to our 2-day workshop. So in thinking about your own organization and who you might have as facilitators, we'd love to hear whether or not people already have folks hired or have people in mind that they're going to be hiring. We want to put out a reminder that the next Kaleidoscope Plan Learn 101 training, which is required of all new facilitators, will be held on October 10th and 11th. Hopefully you've all gotten some information about that. If not, there'll be reminders coming out shortly. It will be held at the Mercer Island Community Center. That's where we were able to get space for this one. And so these trainings do typically fill up. We have a maximum capacity of about 30 participants. So if you do have people that you want to have trained, please do register as soon as possible. And then it's also great to think about whether or not the facilitators will have a coordinator or a supervisor who will be supporting them in their role. And to think about whether or not this person that you might have in mind is already connected to your community and that has some relationships already with families. So please let us know if you wouldn't mind, either by typing it in or unmuting yourselves and letting us know where you're at as far as hiring facilitators, and if you have any questions about this, or if there's anything that we can help with right at this moment as far as figuring out who you might have leading your weekly groups. Great, so we've heard from a couple of people. So Jake said that Family Works already has 2 wonderful bilingual and Spanish leaders who will be doing the groups, which is fantastic. So much of this is probably just a reminder for you, Jake, so that this is great, so that your facilitators, even if they have come to a Kaleidoscope 101 training in the past, if they would like to have a refresher, or if it's been a while, we really encourage folks to come back to the training. So please know that if they'd like to attend that October, because I know that you had someone that was maybe going to come to the August workshop and it didn't work out, but if you have folks that would like to come to the October training, your new person is welcome, and then the other facilitator, even if it's a refresher, we absolutely welcome them. And it's also a nice way of kind of building some community and support with other facilitators, especially those who are going to be funded by Best Starts for Kids. And then it looks like Marianne said we have someone who's been hired and participated in the 101 training. Our staff is bilingual in Spanish and English, so that's great. Folks are already getting going on this. And it looks like we also have a question about logistics. So from Nikki, if we're doing more sessions per week, for example, 4 sessions at 3 hours each, is that a required minimum amount of time that the caregivers need to be with the kids? And we don't have any required minimum amount of time. So if you're doing that many sessions, that's amazing, and we will talk with you about how that might look. But no, there's no required amount of kind of on-site contact time that we have. Do others have any questions or concerns about hiring new facilitators or how their facilitators will be trained? Okay, great. Then we will go ahead and move on.
I'll just add one thing just to clarify, because I'm thinking about that question still.
Sure.
So there isn't a required minimum amount of time, but the caregiver is required to be there during the whole Kaleidoscope play and learn session. I just wanted to clarify to make sure that there wasn't any confusion. So they can't like come half the time and then leave the second half. It's a group for both child and a caregiver, just to clarify.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And if you have additional programming, maybe that is more parent education that happens without the children, then that's wonderful. That's extra support for families, but that's kind of different than the Kaleidoscope play and learn time. So you would need to be clear in your programming what the different options were. And sometimes it is a switch for families to realize, oh, I'm expected to come and to fully participate in this. This isn't a time that I just can kind of, watch my child while they play, or that I could drop my child off and go and talk in the common space. This is very much, the expectation is that parents and caregivers are fully participating in the weekly groups. Great. Good questions. So the other big question that folks often have is about their space. So in thinking about where you might host your weekly groups, as Kim mentioned, they can happen anywhere, and some of the things that we like to really keep in mind are that it's a place that's convenient for families to get to. So if transportation is an issue, something to really be mindful about. Does the space have the materials that you want there, or would the facilitator need to bring them in every week? So facilitators get very creative about this. We actually have at least one affiliate organization that was able to get funding to purchase a van, so that they put all of their KP&L materials in these kind of amazing built-in storage areas in bins in the van, so that they could drive the van around to their different sites on the different days of the week. That's pretty amazing. Most folks have, plastic tubs that they haul in the trunk of their car to bring in. Some people are fortunate enough to have an already existing set up space, like a preschool type space, or a library with that already has a children's section that they can bring in some of their materials, but maybe leave some of them on site. I know Family Works has a beautiful room that's all set up that they have a lot of this already in. So really, it will just depend on your organization and what space you have available. But this is something else that we can help you with as you're starting to think about where your groups might be. And then also, once you figure out where it will be and who will be leading it, you'll want to be thinking about how you let families know about the weekly group. So what kind of outreach you might do, how you'll advertise the group, how you'll encourage families to come. And that's all part of the getting up and running time. So do people have any questions about their space? Okay, I am going to talk just a little bit about the general Kaleidoscope Play and Learn affiliate package. And as I said, there's no cost for this for all of you, because it is paid for as part of your Best Starts for Kids funding. So you will not be having to worry about the licensing fees. But that license, what we call an affiliate agreement, will cover all the years of your Best Starts for Kids grant cycle. So for as long as you are receiving the funding from Best Starts for Kids to participate in Kaleidoscope, you will be an affiliate with Child Care Resources. If at any time you choose not to participate anymore, you are not beholden to Child Care Resources as far as that affiliate agreement. So we don't want any folks to be nervous about agreeing to become affiliates and worried about how this might look for your organization. We are going to support you all to become affiliates, and if it turns out that for whatever reason you are no longer able to offer Kaleidoscope groups, there's no hard feelings. So some of the things that come as part of that package are the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn Planning Toolkit and Handbook. the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn Caregiver Learning Handbook and lesson guides. And so all of those materials are offered on a flash drive, which when you become affiliates and your facilitators attend the training, they'll receive this flash drive with all of these materials. And you are welcome to print them all out. You can make binders. You can use these materials however you see fit in your weekly groups. So there are many facilitators who do use the lesson guides that we have to plan out their lessons for each week. But we really use an emergent curriculum, and there is a lot of flexibility in that, so that facilitators have the opportunity to have as much structure as is helpful for them, but also to be really creative as far as shifting around the focus of or the theme of their weekly groups as fits the needs of their participants. So we have over 55 now, I think, lesson guides, which are a great place to start for facilitators who want to have something a little bit more structured on what information they want to offer to families. But again, it is not required that they use these lesson guides. And if they choose to use them, they don't have to do them in any particular order. They can use the ones that seem like they'd be useful for the families coming to their groups. And then in the planning toolkit, there's all kinds of information about the budget and about hiring and about finding a space, and really information on how you get started as an affiliate. Excuse me. The other big thing that's included in the package is the training. So that is the 2-day KP&L 101 facilitator training. And many of your staff have already participated in this, and hopefully many more will participate in the October one. But this is a required 2-day training for anyone who will be leading the weekly groups. There'll be no cost for up to 2 staff members a year for all of your agencies as part of your affiliate package. And then we also offer quarterly facilitator training webinars, and they're on a whole variety of subjects. Last month's was on gender stereotypes in Kaleidoscope Play and Learn settings, and we've had many on different child development topics, serve and return. There'll be another one coming up on using Paint to Learn technique on incorporating early math into Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups. And so all of your facilitators and coordinators will be able to participate in these quarterly webinars, and they're also recorded, and folks can watch them at a later date if that's more convenient. And then there's a huge component of ongoing technical assistance and support that comes as part of your affiliate package. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim to talk a little bit more about that.
Hi. So one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this slide is because I will be a main contact person for all of you to provide technical assistance to all of you BSK recipients during this process as you are getting your group started, as well as afterwards, after they're started and you continue to maintain them. And typically I visit groups every week, and I also, in addition to providing technical support on site, I am also available through email and phone. Some examples of how we will be helping you with this Kaleidoscope process is if you need help on locations on where you want to facilitate your group, if you need help with outreach, on spreading the word to increase your attendance, or need help implementing caregiver learning, those are some ways I can assist. Some of the aspects that Jennifer talked about, like the caregiver survey, for example, a lot of affiliates very much like it when I come on site to help facilitate that process, as that can be a lot of work if you have a high attendance group. The facilitator has a lot going on, but I am more than welcome to help and come and assist as needed. And then as for the quarterly training webinars as well, that's one of the other mediums that we provide technical assistance on different topics. And those are very much community-based driven. If there are topics that affiliates or facilitators or participants are interested in, that's something you can let us know about, and we can develop webinars based on your feedback. We also have monthly newsletters that we send out every month. If you are not on our email distribution list yet, you will be added soon. And those newsletters have a variety of different information on activity ideas, resources, community events, trainings, and so on. And then as well, during this process, as you become an official affiliate our colleague Wisteria, Oliver, will be helping all of you with the official paperwork to become an affiliate, and she will guide you through that as well. And so we just want to let you know that during this whole process of becoming an affiliate and starting your groups and maintaining them and running them, you're definitely not alone. We're here to support you, and you can feel free to contact me at any time if you need some assistance.
Great. So some of the reporting requirements that we just wanted to go over, and before we even start, I just wanted to remind you that you may have separate reporting requirements for Best Starts for Kids for the King County team. I don't know exactly what those will look like, but we do have some pretty minimal reporting requirements that we will be collecting from you here at Child Care Resources. So the big one is that annual caregiver survey. Because this project with Best Starts got started so late and you'll all just be getting groups started in the fall, we are not expecting you to complete the caregiver survey for 2018. So you're off the hook for this year, but we will expect everyone to offer the survey to all of your participants in 2019. And there'll be lots of information and support offered around that when that time comes. Again, it's just a one-page front and back, pretty basic survey for your participants. It's in multiple languages, and it's something that is not, it's not required of the families attending to complete the survey, but it is required that the facilitators ask that they complete the survey. And there's a whole script and talking points that we can send out to help with that. And we really encourage them to support caregivers in completing this survey, because this is how we get all of the data that we're able to share. This is what the basis of our evaluation comes from, and that's how we're able to get future funding and how we can promote the program by showing its effects. So the caregiver survey is our big one. Again, it's just once a year, and it happens. There's a window of a few months, and it happens over the course of just a couple of weeks. And we offer lots of support on getting those surveys completed. And in fact, this year, Kim went out to multiple sites to help the facilitators offer the survey to the participants. So hopefully we'll be able to offer that kind of support next year as well. The other reporting requirement that we ask of facilitators is to complete the quality self-assessment. And that is a brief kind of self-review of how the groups are going and how many of the KP&L components a facilitator is able to incorporate in their weekly groups. So that's really a time for facilitators to take a moment to think about how their group has been going over the year and what challenges they have, what successes they want to share, what different things they may want to try in the coming year. And this can be done, they can do it on their own, they can do it with a coordinator or supervisor, or they can ask us for assistance as well. But it's really just a chance for facilitators to have some time built in to kind of self-evaluate their weekly play and learn groups and see how their program is going and what supports they might need to improve. And again, that one, because these groups will be getting started just in the fall, we don't expect any facilitators to complete that for 2018, but we would expect them all to do it for 2019 and beyond. And then again, the facilitator would need to complete the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn 101 training. Many of your staff have already participated, and then we will, any that are being hired, and hopefully they'll be able to come to that October 10th and 11th. And then these trainings do occur 4 times a year, so we'll let you know when the 2019 dates are set as well. But because your groups will need to be started before the end of the year, hopefully all of your staff that would be leading groups will be able to come to the October training. And if for some reason they are not able to, but they need to get the group started, they are able to start groups even if they haven't attended the training, if they are registered to come to a workshop within 3 months of having started their group. So they would need to come to the first training that would happen in the new year. And then a monthly attendance is submitted to Child Care Resources, and we have a pretty streamlined process for doing that at this point. We do not ask for names of participants, but we are looking for the numbers of caregivers and children attending. And as Kim mentioned, we have a colleague, her name is Wisteria Oliver, who is our wonderful administrative specialist and contract monitor, and she works with the affiliates each month, sending out the forms for attendance to be completed and collected, and then she tracks all of that information so that we are able to say how many families we're serving each month and each year. And then we also ask for each affiliate to send us the group information that's updated at any time. So that just means that we keep an online resource for anyone that comes onto the Child Care Resources website, telling what groups are happening across the state of Washington on which days, the exact location, who the target audience is. For instance, if it's a Spanish-speaking group, that it's welcome to all Spanish families in the community, the facilitator's name and contact information. And so we ask that all affiliates send us any of this information that's updated if it changes. So as your groups get started, please be sure to contact us with all of the information about your group. We will add that to our group list online and have that published on the website. And then if anything changes, for instance, if the day or the time or the space does need to change, please let us know as soon as possible, and we'll update that online as well. So it looks like we had a question. Marianne asked if we were able to get the results of the caregiver survey for the site after it is done in 2019. Absolutely. That's one of the great benefits of being an affiliate, is that we will give you, that you'll have access to the overall evaluation report of all of our affiliates in Washington State, but then we're also able to give you individualized data on your own organization's caregiver survey results. So yes, you will get that information when you do it in 2019. And if anyone is interested in seeing this year's 2017's evaluation report, it's available on the Child Care Resources website. So you can go ahead and download that report just to get an idea of what information it is that we're collecting each year. So we have given you lots of information about Kaleidoscope Play and Learn, the model in general, the history, and then kind of what it looks like to become an affiliate. We would love to hear how the program might fit in with your organization's goals and other programs offered, and if you have any questions about how that might fit in. So feel free to go ahead and type in any questions you have, or unmute yourselves and share with the group. Hopefully you've all heard this information and thought, this is perfect. We totally do things like this, and this is what our community and our families need, and Kaleidoscope is going to be a great extra tool in your organization's toolkit. So we did get one comment that it'll fit in by increasing family resiliency. It's perfect, and I love that. We really do take a strengths-based approach, and a lot of the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn model is very in line with the Strengthening Families Protective Factors. So we do talk about that a little bit in our training, and it certainly is something that that we've heard from our community partners, that those protective factors are really all met beautifully through participation in weekly Play and Learn groups. And then we had another comment, we're excited to start our group. We're an early intervention provider and look forward to having something to offer families who may not qualify for early intervention services. That is fantastic. And if you want to connect with other affiliates that have been working with Kaleidoscope for a while who also do early intervention, we're happy to make some of those connections. If you have any questions about specifics on how that might work, because we do work with a few different organizations in the area who are predominantly early intervention sites, but have been leading Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups for years. And does anyone have other questions or things that you were hoping to find out about becoming an affiliate, or what your responsibilities are or next steps? And as you're thinking about that, I'll read one more comment that came in. KP&L fits in with World Relief's goals by helping parents learn how to be involved in their children's education. Absolutely. It's also going to provide community to refugee parents who are often isolated, as well as English classes, parenting classes to caregivers. It sounds like it's going to be a great addition to the programming that's already happening at World Relief. We're so excited to work with you all. And yeah, we really do take the philosophy of, letting parents and caregivers know that they are their child's first teacher and that they should be advocates for their children, and really building on that caregiver leadership so that they are starting early with being active participants in their children's education. So Kaleidoscope is a great means of doing that. Thank you for the comment, Nikki. And any other questions or things that you wanted to clarify? Of course, this is just one, a 1 hour information sharing. We are here to offer support and help as you're getting started and thinking about all of this. So please feel free to email us, call us. Our contact information is here, and you should all have it at this point. Kim and I will be working most closely with all of you that are taking part in the Best Starts for Kids funding. And we will meet you in person at the Best Starts for Kids orientation meeting that Michelle Sarju has scheduled for September 24th. We're hoping to work with her on putting together an agenda so that we'll have some information to share with you on that day, but it'll also be a great opportunity for us to be able to meet you all in person and answer any other questions about logistics around Kaleidoscope. And it looks like a couple people are wondering about a copy of the PowerPoint. We can go ahead and send that out as a PDF so that you all have it. So you may see in the handouts through GoToWebinar, we did upload some information on generally becoming an affiliate in King County, and then information on Kaleidoscope Play and Learn. Feel free to go ahead and download those, and then we'll add the PowerPoint, but we'll also send it out to you as an attachment to all of the participants and BSK awardees, so that you've got this information and feel free to share it. Any other requests or questions or comments before we end for today?
Well, this is Kim speaking. I just wanted to say that I very much look forward to working with all of you. When it was announced to receive the BSKs, I researched all of your organizations, and I'm already quite impressed with the work that you're doing. And I think that this is a really great opportunity for Kaleidoscope to expand with your help and to reach more in the community that can benefit from this program. So yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much for participating today and for making the effort and taking the interest in sharing Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups with the families in your communities. As Kim said, I echo that. We're really excited to work with you all and impressed with what's happening in the community in King County, and we can't wait to learn more from all of you about the programs that you have going and how we can help you with this one. So thank you so much for participating, and we will be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.